Okay, I'd like to call the meeting, the Valley Park Board of Education of July 14th, to order at 7:31 p.m. I'd like to invite everybody to join us in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to read our brand new shiny mission statement. The Valley Park School District is dedicated to providing a safe and supportive environment of belonging, where personalized learning experiences prepare our students holistically for limitless opportunities, empowering them to make the world a better place. Okay. Amazing presentations, Tim.
Yeah, just want to, I think tonight's a great opportunity to recognize a couple people. I read a quote once that great teams don't happen by chance. And we're really fortunate tonight to welcome two of our newest members to our team, Dr. Megan Struzeski and Dr. Kelly Lowe, as both our assistant superintendent and chief financial officers. Megan's been transitioning with us in anticipation of officially joining us tonight for a little bit of a while, and Kelly a shorter amount of time, but just from my seat, and I know on behalf of all the people that were part of some pretty intensive hiring processes to select both of those candidates, that we are uber excited, not only for what you bring to the district, but what we can learn from both of you in your new roles. We've got a great district with a strong history and tradition of excellence, and I've got a lot of confidence with Megan and Kelly that things will only continue to get better. So thanks for saying yes, thanks for accepting the challenge, and thanks for all that you bring to our district.
Speaking of teams, I just wanted to say thanks to a member of our team who couldn't be here tonight in person since he's currently out of the country in South America on a humanitarian mission. Board President Jeremy Pickard.
Okay. 2.01. Do we have any public comments tonight?
We had no public comments this evening.
Okay. Item number 3 on the agenda. Item 3.01, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed to the agenda?
No.
Okay, 1 nay. Okay, then we have item number 4 is our consent items. 4.01, approval of regular session minutes from June 23rd, 2021. 4.02, approval of check register from July 2021. 4.03, second reading and approval of policies, all of those policies.
And P1 and 4.02 pulled out.
Yes, I had a request to pull out 4.02 for separate consideration. So do I have a motion to approve items 4.01 and 4.03?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed to those 2 items? Now, item 4.02 for separate consideration, approval of the check register. All in favor of approving the check register?
No, we need a motion.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Sorry, separate item. Okay,
I'll make a motion.
okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I'd like to make a couple comments on it.
Okay, go ahead.
Noticing when you look through the check registry, there's some oddities that we may want to put light on that are really not inconsistencies. It's the way the check registry comes out currently. And Kelly, you may just have run into this, but one of the questions that you would say when you looked at the check registry, we wrote 10 checks to Hammer and UE for $16,000 when it's really 1 check and the same check number. But when you look at the line items, they're all listed. There's also several other issues like that throughout there. There's a couple for special school district. And I understand what it is. It's taking separate accounts and showing the same check posted to separate accounts. But for anybody that would just glance at the check registry, you would give yourself a heart attack and say that you paid them 10 times the same amount of money. So I think that you're working on that currently, right?
Pete, that was a self-driven SysFin report that I taught myself how to do in about 10 minutes before I had to turn it.
It's been there before. It's just, Kelly, you didn't get it. It's been there before.
Here's what's getting ready to happen, lots of changes in that area. We will avoid that in the near future, I promise you. So we're gonna make some changes to that report, so it's not confusing.
Yeah, it's been there before. I just want to make sure to highlight it, that this is not the first time.
Our goal is to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, it just makes it real confusing, because if I was looking at this online and didn't look at the same check number, you go, oh my God. you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I understand it's an accounting thing, but I really appreciate you taking the time and going after it. I know you've got a lot to go after, so just put it in your long list of things to do.
By the August board meeting, we should have a much better understanding of how to run reports out of SysFin.
Great.
I have a week and a half on
Hey,
it.
trust me, we may be a year. But I appreciate your time and trouble to go after it, but you can see why it would be confusing. That's all I had on it, Della.
Okay. So all in favor of approving item 4.02, approval of the check register?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the check register is approved. Thanks for the discussion. All right, action items number 5. First one is 5.01, approval of the 2021-2022 contract for special school district substitute personnel, sorry.
I'll move to approve 5.01.
I'll second. So no discussion? All in favor of approving item 5.01? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I will abstain.
One abstention. Okay, so that's approved. 5.02, approval of the breakfast and lunch prices for the 2021-2022 school year.
I'll move to approve 5.02.
Second.
Dr. Lowe, anything interesting you want to share with us about that?
No, we did this and it's, the only thing that's going up is because of commodities, it's the 20 cents on it though. So if we don't raise that 20 cents, we don't get all those commodities on that.
Gotcha.
My understanding is that free breakfast and lunch is continuing through the whole next school year. correct? So
Absolutely.
That's a fantastic thing for our families.
Yeah, the PLE tool makes us do this every single year, even
Mhm.
though they've already approved the free breakfast and the free lunch next year for everyone.
Have you heard anything about when that is, this just gonna be one more year, or is there any rumors at all about it?
Well, I mean.
I mean, somebody's paying for it.
I think USDA has it going through the 2021-2022.
Is that?
For
is
sure,
that federal money?
that is for sure. It's for sure for the entire school year.
Right.
There's plenty of legislators, and I think rightfully so, a lot of good citizens that would love to see it continued indefinitely for a lot of good reasons. But we do know for certain the entire school year for students, free breakfast.
Was it coming out of the pandemic money from the Fed?
It's some part.
I think it's
The federal
starting
rebate.
to, and I think they saw how wonderful a program it was and decided to keep it going from the USDA.
All right, so at this time, then, our cafeteria will be just editing and doing a little more cooking, or is it gonna be the same bag type
Great
system?
question. Yeah, it's a great question. So breakfast will look very similar to last year. So for our elementary kids, it'll be brought to their classrooms, kind of a bag system.
And I told you before, that was launched down in Nixa 10 years ago, eating breakfast in the classrooms because of that extra contact time with the teachers.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody thought it would be a big mess, and it really wasn't. Have we found that? It's
Yeah,
not really a big
in
mess?
fact, a number of our teachers actually commented how much they actually liked it. And then certainly, as we all know, we can't teach hungry kids.
Oh, I
So-
understand.
So they also, I think, found kind of anecdotally that obviously our kids were more engaged and more ready to
Sure.
go through the day. But a number of teachers did mention, and initially, I will admit, a number of them mentioned
was scary.
concerns. Yeah, because it was new and scary, and but an equal number came back by the end and said, it actually turned out to be really great. We got to spend more time with kids.
Absolutely.
Even the kids themselves, just socializing some more.
It's contact time.
So the middle school and high school will still kind of be grab and go to
Okay.
their first period class. with
Right.
that. And then with lunch, though, in October, we brought on Kelsey Hulcher, who's just done a tremendous job since joining us. And again, joining us not only mid-year, but mid-pandemic. And so, no, she actually wants to offer the students kind of a cold and a hot
Well, that'd
lunch
be great.
option
That'd be great.
for the lunch. And now the cold one will be where they can kind of sustain longer, so
Yeah.
she can make them ahead of time and, yogurt and things that can last 2 or 3 days versus
Right.
having to throw them out. That's just a cost saving measure, which I think is also
Great
great.
idea.
But no, she hopes to make for sure a hot menu item available too, so kids will have choices.
Yeah, it looks like she hit the ground running when she came in.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's really rewarding is not all the great things she's done for kids and the food service, but I think how her team has responded to her is also really
Unbelievable.
positive.
Yeah.
So for someone who is short on experience, she's knocked it out of the park early on.
Great, great, good news. Thank you
How
very
are
much.
we handling allergies in the classroom for elementary students who are bringing food in? Do we have a separate space for them, or do we have?
Yeah, we still do, just like we would. Now, we are looking, I'm sorry, so we do have separate spaces, just like we do in the cafeteria. Now, we are thinking somewhat similar to last year. We haven't finalized, obviously, all of our return to learn plans. We know there's a lot of things that can change between now and August. But we are thinking kind of similar lunch situations. So students will have assigned seats in the lunchroom and so forth, spread out, multiple feet. We'll probably have to continue that, for a while when we come back, but that's okay. But we do anticipate eating in the lunchrooms and things. And so we'll continue to have the special seats and areas and things like that.
The assigned seats done,
Yes.
in case somebody would know, that is assist us in tracing.
Contact tracing
Yeah,
purposes.
just in case somebody was.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to say too much because nothing's final.
Oh, I know, but that was the concept.
Yeah, but last year too, we were very specific. I mean, we, even at the secondary level, doing things alphabetically and things, we may give students more choice at the secondary level. Again, establish the seating choice from where they want to
Sure.
sit, so they can be
Gotcha.
closer to their social networks. But that's exactly right. That way, if someone does trigger, that's part of the contact tracing process. that we go
Right,
through.
because the question did come up, why do they have to assign seats?
Yeah.
But that's a great concept,
Yeah.
way to trace.
Well, that was a really good point, though, Lisa, about allergies, because that really is a big thing.
I think it's fantastic, and they're eating in the classroom. I really do. I know it causes some problems sometimes, but I just think it's fantastic to have them in the room.
Yeah.
Starting off, not chasing, like, get to class, guys, come on, get it.
Yeah.
And opening up everything in the
Yeah,
classroom.
and that presentation down there at MSBA, when they talked about it, and the other schools just went, oh, the same thing we did, because everybody thinks of it as a nightmare cleanup, but if you pick the right products for the breakfast, you don't have that, but they said the extra 20 minutes of contact time they got every day with the children was just invaluable. And because it was more relaxed, because they're eating, they actually got more out of them in 20 minutes sometimes than they did in 2 hours, because it was so much more relaxed.
Yeah, and even, even thinking from that social emotional lens, even if it's just a quick check-in, that you can tell a kid is, down or not him or herself. That
Wonderful.
morning to spend 3 minutes with them before the quote regular school day. It's
Great,
awesome.
great.
Outstanding. And to your point, Pete and Adam, I think that would be another great benefit of the USDA or even the state of Missouri. We could be leaders in the state of Missouri if our governor and everyone else want to get behind it and continue this beyond the 21-22
great
school
idea.
year.
Great idea.
I think it would benefit many kids. And I think the other hidden benefit of this is we know we have a large free and reduced lunch population in our community.
Yes, we did.
I actually feel anecdotally, it's probably much larger than we think, but for a lot of reasons, people don't go through the paperwork to
Absolutely.
apply for that. And
I
so
agree with you.
I feel we're actually connecting and touching more kids than we probably ever thought possible.
No doubt about it. It's just, all we have to do is hope somebody decides to pay for it.
Right, yeah, sure. That's the thing.
And
To piggyback on that, we've been picking up the lunches and breakfasts over the summer, and they're so organized, they're so friendly. You pop up, it literally takes like 30 seconds. They're already at your car. How many kids? It's in your car, you're already on your way. They've been phenomenal. It has been phenomenal.
They're a good group. They're a good group. And then somewhat related to this topic, but also a little bit disconnected. I think we would be remiss if we just didn't thank our partners at Champions Church.
Yes.
They've been here going all the way back through last spring and last summer. They continue to be here every Friday, also helping not only with meals for families, but things like laundry detergent and cleaning supplies. And they're awesome. And same thing. Their attitudes are amazing. They show up without fail, and we're really fortunate to have a partnership with them as well.
They help the cafeteria people load things up into your
Right.
car, it's not like, we're gonna stay over here in our lane and, you stay over in yours, we all help each other, it's great.
Yeah, so I appreciate them reaching out to us, almost 2 years ago now and continuing that partnership. It's been huge.
Yeah, they've been wonderful. Also, I have to not let us move past this without mentioning us having the bus down at the park. so that we don't have kids trying to cross the highway to get a lunch. I mean, I think that really says a lot about that the kids are a priority to us. Their safety is a priority. You know, kids can go there, get their lunch, and we don't have to worry. I'm grateful that we are able to offer that.
Thank you.
Okay, so approval of the breakfast and lunch prices for the 2021-2022 school year. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Okay, that carries. Item 5.03, presentation and approval of the 2021 through 2026 Valley Park School District Strategic Plan.
All right, Mr. Hardesty, can you pull that up for us, please? Well, thanks for the time and opportunity to discuss. Again, it seems like just like last month, we were here with some significant work that we've been working on the last 2 years that can really drive our school district forward. But really, this is a missing piece that I think a number of us have been looking for quite some time. I know when I first started meeting with faculty, staff, and community members 3 years ago in transitioning to this position, the number one question everyone would ask me was, what's your vision for the school district? I always, I think, paused and I think caught a number of them off guard when I would say things like, what's really not important what my vision is, it's important what our vision is. And, you know, obviously we had some significant work we presented to you last night with the mission, vision, values, but now to see that go to the next level and really identify our district's vision for what we want to do and how we want to better the lives of students. And more specifically, to give us a specific roadmap on where we can spend our time, our energy, and our resources to better the lives of our kids and the Valley Park community. This is probably the most exciting thing I've been part of in a number of years in my life.
Tim, I'd like to make a statement that when we did our interviewing for superintendents, we asked all the superintendents that exact same question. And you said the exact same thing. It's not my vision, it's your vision and the school's vision that I want to make happen. You use the exact same question. That made one heck of a difference to me, that you didn't come in assembled in your head of what you wanted to do. You wanted to see what the district needed and what the people wanted instead of what you wanted. And you said that before you even had a job.
Yeah, well, and I'm honored to be the one presenting the proposal of the strategic plan tonight. But as we talked about throughout this plan, we were very intentional about trying to be inclusive of the voices of our entire community, our alumni base, our families, our parents, guardians, our teachers and staff, our students are all represented throughout this. And while it's my honor to present it, I'm really presenting it standing on their shoulders because it's their voices that said, this is what's important and this is where we need to spend time. So this is an image that I know the Board of Education and probably the public at this point has seen multiple times before. So I won't belabor the point other than to say it's not an accident that we arrived at this point this evening. It was a very intentional, incremental developmental process over 2 years that brought us to this moment in time in our district's history right now. And the entire goal from day one was to intentionally develop excellence in all learning. That's for our students. That's also for our faculty and staff. Of course, when we started the journey, we had no idea we'd have a pandemic thrown in. But I actually think in some ways, as we're starting to hopefully look back on the pandemic now, maybe it was okay. Maybe it is a testament to our community that despite things like a global pandemic, we could continue to keep our focus on where it mattered, and that was our kids and our school district and our community, and kept moving forward. So in some regards, while we certainly would have never wished for it, maybe it was a bright spot in some ways as well. So rather than focus on the timeline, I thought I'd talk about some points of pride before we even get into the strategic plan, which should be a huge point of pride. And some of those points of pride include, we've done over the course of 2 years now, 2 faculty engagement and perception surveys. And out of those surveys, we've done things like the recreation of our professional development committee, the establishment of a technology committee. We've really tried to get teachers more empowered and include their voices more in professional development decisions. And quite frankly, it also brought us to the mission, vision, value, where we got their voice and input along with our other stakeholders involved. We also had our first book study 2 years ago on what schools could be. Over 50 of our faculty members, and I can't emphasize this enough, 50 of our faculty members volunteered to be part of that initial book study in the first several months of my superintendency. And I can't tell you how proud I am of them for their courage to step up and say they wanted to be part of something. And from that, we also continued our bus tours then off our book study of what schools could be. Not because we wanted to be anybody else, but because we wanted to see what was possible as we were reimagining Valley Park for our students and our community. We then held a data workshop facilitated by MSBA that included a combination of board members, faculty members, and our district administration, where we started looking at not only our student data, but like populations, not only in St. Louis County, but across the state. And as much as the conversation about data and kids was important, I think a really hidden and key aspect of that event was the fact that we were bringing together different segments of our community. It wasn't the board working in isolation or the administration or the faculty, but it was all of us working together at tables, sharing, that we were all in this together. Then, of course, as we learned last month, we had initially over 30 members of our community, faculty, administration, parents, guardians, participate in the recreation of our district mission, which Stella read tonight, and the establishment of a brand new vision and value statements to drive our work. And you'll see that embedded throughout the strategic plan. We did, of course, and maybe one of the parts I'm also most proud of, we were very intentional about making sure our student voices were embedded throughout this. So back in 2020, we did a student survey, more of a connection survey about belonging and feelings and perception that over 350 of our secondary students completed. Throughout the focus groups, we also made sure to have focus groups for students in grades 3 and up to really make sure that their voices were heard as part of this process as well. On the mention of surveys and focus groups, we've done 2 community-wide strategic plan surveys and community perception surveys. The one this past year, again, we're very proud of 584 different survey responses. That includes faculty, staff, alumni, you name it, all in there. And again, 3/4 of those survey takers were community members. So we really felt like we had part of the community voice. And then we continued to give them more opportunities, 23 focus groups. In the month of March during spring of 21, a combination of virtual and face-to-face. We had a citizen group, we had members from the city government, we had emergency personnel like our fire chief in St. Louis County, but we also had parents and students and employees, both classified and certified, really adding their voices. In total, 161 different voices through the 23 focus groups, which is pretty incredible given the size of our district. And then most recently, a district team of district teachers and administration really got together to go a little bit deeper into all the data and start kind of sorting through it through a strategic plan retreat, where the members of the faculty and administration then drafted action plan and focus measures to drive our work. So before we can even celebrate the strategic plan, which should be a celebratory thing in itself, we've already had a lot of points of pride just in the process and creation.
I absolutely love that slide. I want to share it.
Again, I'm not going to read particularly to the board, all of the things on here tonight. I know you've had some time to digest it over the coming weeks. If approved, obviously, we'll go through a big communication plan to point out. But what I want to tell you what the plan is, I also want to tell you what it's not. And I think that's really key. What it's not hundreds upon hundreds of pages of language and documents that get printed in a nice binder and go on a shelf. What it is, it's actionable. It's things that we can hold ourselves accountable to, that we can measure progress, but also if we stall, that we'll be able to continuously reinvest in and revisit to see how we can do things differently. It's a living document, a roadmap for the future, not something that is stagnant that we're not going to revisit until 2026. This is going to drive our work now as a district, and we'll be having lots of conversations, and you'll hear lots of things. Just as we've been very intentional about the mission over the last year or so, we're going to be very intentional about asking, how does this align to our strategic plan? And that's not to say that if things don't align to the strategic plan, that they're not important. It just means they can't be done right now. And we also know that while some things might not be intentionally in the strategic plan, it doesn't mean that anecdotally they might just happen anyway because of the great work that we are focusing our energy, our time, and our resources into. And then specifically what the plan is about, besides just a continuous improvement journey, again, it's making sure everything is aligned to our mission, our vision, and our values. Again, lots of words on this page, but again, it's really what this page is about more than what's on this page that's important. What is on this page that's important is you'll notice our mission and you'll notice our vision. And again, you'll notice that on every page of our strategic plan because that's what drives our work. The other thing that is significant about the page on here is that you'll see that our plan has 4 guiding principles, which we'll talk about a little bit more in detail here in a minute. And those 4 principles are very simply our students, our team, our community, and our resources. And then it has a number of key initiatives that we're going to tackle between now and 2026. And so what is significant about this is that is essentially our strategic plan on one page. Because again, we've learned, as organizations and leaders and learning communities, that if you have anything more than that, quite frankly, the likelihood of being successful, you'll get initiative overload. And so if it can't go on one page, then quite frankly, it can't be done. Or it can't be done as effectively as we want it to be. So that's essentially our entire strategic plan. Now, of course, we have other ways to drill deeper into that, which we're going to show you. But in a nutshell, anyone that wants to know, hey, where is the district spending its time, energy, and resources the next 5 years? What are their guiding principles? It's all right there on page 1. So let's dig a little bit deeper. So I said, essentially, we have 4 pillars: our students, our team, our community, and our resources. Pretty easy to remember. We drag that out a little bit more. When we say our students, we mean ensuring every student has success. And when we say our team, we're talking about valuing our talented staff. One of the number one things we heard in our focus groups, our community surveys, when we were coding things, was the quality of people that work with kids in our district. And I really want to emphasize people, because it's not just about teachers. We've got lots of great educators in this district, but it's also our classified staff. It's our administrative assistants that greet kids every day, or help the nurse or their secretary take care of sick kids or troubled kids. It's the bus drivers, it's the cooks, it's the people in the food line, it's our custodians and maintenance staff. We have great people showing up every day, ready to better the lives of kids. And so it's about valuing our talented staff. When we say community, we mean engaging our families and our community. And when we say our resources, we mean fostering operational excellence. And under each of those 4 pillars, you essentially have 2 or 3 key areas of focus. So for our students, our key areas of focus over the next several years are going to be college and career rigor and readiness, personalized student learning and student engagement, and creating a culture of belonging. And we'll go deeper into these here in just a minute. When we talk about valuing our staff, we're really going to focus on 3 things: professional learning for our staff to make sure they've got the tools to be the very best they can be, curriculum development, deployment, and accountability, and employee engagement and recognition. And I really, I hope if our faculty and staff are watching, I hope those are very much representative of them. For 2 years, their surveys have said just how important professional learning is and how it's been absent. They've talked about wanting more support with curriculum writing and development, but then also, and this is where I thought it was one of the most remarkable and telling things about our faculty. When we went through focus groups with them about curriculum and dig deeper a little bit into that, one of the number one things they kept making was, hey, we got to hold people accountable though to it. We don't get to go off once it's developed and do our own things. We want accountability with it too, which is really remarkable for a staff to say, hold us accountable, empower us. So I'm really proud of those goals. The key focuses for community will be strengthening our school and classroom relationships with our families, and then enriching campus connections and community partnerships. And then finally, our resources, our 3 key areas of focus is how can we maximize our resources? We've done some really good work with that over the last 2 years. I think there's a lot more work to do, but we can do that, and we can make sure that every penny is going back to feed the mission, vision, and value of our district. Developing processes and systems. Anyone who's known me long enough knows this is something I believe very intentionally in, and something that I believe the lack of systems is something that prevents us from being the very best we can be. So we're going to continue to implement and develop processes and systems to guide our work. And then long-range planning, safety, which we'll talk about, has always been a hallmark of our district, efficiency, and also sustainability. While certainly this plan is to cover the next 5 years, We want this school district to be successful and sustainable for the next 500 years. So we want our legacy to be that what we've started today, someone else can pick up and run with for the next 500 years. So again, I'm not going to drill too deep into each of these. So we do have a page for students, page for staff, page for community, page for resources. And we've already talked about the key focus areas. You can see in there one thing, regardless of what pillar you're looking at. One thing we were very intentional about was when there was a metric, making sure we had a metric in there to truly measure our success. And so you'll see things like the first bullet of students, 100% of our graduating students have a personalized career plan. You'll see other things embedded that 100% of our students report feeling represented in the curriculum, or that 100% of the students feel like they have a trusting, caring adult. If there's not a metric, that typically tells you we don't have a metric yet, or it's something that has to be developed, such as a curriculum. We know when we're talking about college and career readiness and in doing things like embedding career connections throughout a K-12 curriculum, that's not a measurement, that's a doing, that's a product that we have to do. Now, how will we measure it? We'll see it in different ways, and that's what the measurement columns is in all of these. So we'll see it in our student test scores. We'll see it in their college career placement. We'll see it in their career advancement and career paths and explorations and internships. So it'll be measured differently, but sometimes we don't have a measurement yet. But hopefully over the course of the next 6 years, 5 or 6 years, we will. Specifically, what I want to point out is that for each and every one, it's not a magic formula for how we got there. We were very specific about using the data we had from focus groups and surveys. So when you think about college and career readiness, 85% of the people who took our strategic plan survey this last year ranked college preparedness as high importance. 79% of the people who took the strategic plan survey said career and technical education was of high importance. So no surprise, college and career readiness are important in a school district. That's good to say. But here's what, but not all data are celebrations either. Sometimes data tells us there's work to do. And the one thing I want to talk about before we go too deep into data is that there is no bad data. There are no ouches, there are no wrongs. All data does, it tells us a story. Particularly when we're talking about surveys and focus groups, they're often perceptions. But sometimes those perceptions become realities if we don't spend the energy to address them. And so while we love to see, high percentages on some of these things, and we will, and we'll celebrate those, low percentages don't mean things are bad. It just means we need to spend our energy and time to correct it. So when it comes to college and career readiness, in our strategic plan survey, 67% of our respondents said that our students are prepared for college, and 57% felt they were prepared for career readiness. Now, the national average is about 74%. So that tells me two things. One, our community values education as they should. And two, we've got to really be more intentional about how we're working on that. So that when you look at some of the metrics that we have under the student section, that's why. And then you'll see just another career connection. 41% ranked the variety of academic programs as an area of improvement. It was actually the highest rated thing on our surveys, area needed improvement, was the variety of academic programs. Now, one thing I think is going to be a challenge for us is we know we're limited in some regards because of our size. While it's a strength sometimes, it's also limiting. But I also think that item right there is also very specific about how you'll start to see through lines between all four pillars. Because just because it says variety of programming, it doesn't mean we have to do it ourselves, right? We can partner with businesses and industries to get our students experiences and internships and externships, or just make them more knowledgeable about how to navigate that field if they want to pursue it. We can work with great partners like Rockwood and Parkway and others. And if they have programs that we don't, and vice versa, we can share resources and so forth. We can work together with others. We don't always have to do things ourselves, but we do need to be cognizant of trying to do more for our kids. When you look at the personalized learning and student engagement, really this was a lot of our student survey data from 2020. 7% of our high school and 27% of our middle school students said they strongly agree that in their classes they have an opportunity to display their talents. 7% of our high school students and 15% of our middle school students said they strongly agree when we asked them, I'm interested in the things I learn about in my classes. And then 9% of high school, 15% of middle school strongly agree that they're eager to participate in classroom activities. Again, this is not an indication of anything that's wrong. It just means we have to spend some more energy making sure that our teachers are equipped with engaging and relevant college and career curriculum. And that we're also giving them the proper professional development to go along with that, but also the proper planning and preparation time where they can collaborate, look at data, develop those processes to improve, to make the curriculum more engaging for our kids and more relevant. Yes, sir.
Tim, it is an indication that we needed this program and this mission set up 5-year plan that you did. That's why we need it, because of this. That we would have never known that before. So
And
that's
I
why
think
so
it's important
to
that
have.
we're hearing our students too, in a sense.
Right, but without this, you would have never known it.
Right, sure. And then when we think about creating the culture of belonging, some of the data that drove our work, 63% of our strategic plan survey strongly agree that we meet the needs of a diverse population. So that's a celebration, but also one that we can get better at.
Absolutely.
And then again, we start to look at some of our student data. So 16% of our high school and 19% of our middle school students strongly agree that I feel like I belong in my school. Now, if we add the agree numbers, that goes up. But I'm a pretty competitive person. I want 100% of our kids at all levels saying, I feel like I belong in my school. Not just agreeing, strongly
Right.
agreeing. So that's why we didn't add that in. 44% of high school and 33% of middle school strongly agree that at least one teacher, counselor, other adult cares about them. 43% of high school, 40% of middle school strongly agree that they have a trusted adult they could go to if they had a problem, issue, or concern. Now, again, those numbers, I want to be very transparent. They go up if you add the agree, but I want 100% strongly agree should be our goal. We think about kids feeling like they're safe, they're cared for, they belong, and they have that one adult. And just like we talked about, one adult doesn't just mean teachers. I know plenty of kids in our district who love our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers. I know they love working with Chris and learning from Chris in the maintenance shop. I know we've got a couple graduates walking around here working as maintenance staff right now that take a lot of pride in the school district. I don't care who the adult is. I just want to make sure every kid leaves this school district feeling like there was at least one that they knew they could count on each and every day.
Also create somebody they look forward to seeing every day.
So then similarly, again, with the teams, you'll see the team slide looks very similar to the student, only it's very specific to teams with their measurements and goals embedded throughout. And so I just wanted to provide some information on how we got that. When it comes to professional learning, this is over 2 years worth of data. 36% of our faculty strongly agree or agree that teachers are involved in the decision-making process about professional learning. I know we've taken some good steps in the last year with the redevelopment of our professional development committee, and they've done some tremendous work, including leading a book study on blind spot and some other things. And I know Megan's already started working with a number of them. We want teacher voice involved in the professional development, just like we do in our surveys and everything else. And I have every confidence we have the right person in charge of teaching and learning to take that to the next level. 50% of our staff strongly agree or agree that they have received PD in our district that has improved student learning. We definitely want to work to get that up. And 46% strongly agree or agree that the PD they received in our district has improved their practice. If we can't get numbers higher than that, then quite frankly, we shouldn't be doing professional development. But I think those 3 data points, and of course we could give you more, but the 3 data points that are up there are all correlated, right? If you feel empowered, like you had a voice in the design and development and selection of your professional development, you're going to be more engaged. You're going to feel it's more impactful to your practice, and you're going to make sure it's impacting student learning. So it's really important that we're listening to our teachers and trying to address that through a number of areas. When it comes to curriculum development, again, these are our teachers talking in the strategic plan survey, and then our students talking in their student survey. 59% of our faculty said they strongly agree that we provide a well-rounded curriculum. That means we got some work to do, folks. 31% of high school and 31% of middle school strongly agree that my teacher has high expectations for me. That's a direct correlation to the curriculum. And again, we're starting to see that through line. So in Peer 1, when we're looking at our students at college career readiness, now Peer 2 with our team, curriculum development, there's embedding throughout. Finally, employee engagement and recognition. A lot of celebrations here, but also some work to do. 81% of our employees surveyed on the strategic plan survey said they're proud to be an employee of the Valley Park School District. The national average on that's about 75%. So that tells us the majority of the people are happy to be here, want to be here, and want to continue to get better for our kids. Likewise, 85% of our strategic plan respondents said they are satisfied or extremely satisfied to be employees here. Pretty great when the national average on that is about 64%.
But knowing you and your 100%, we need to know what that 15%
That's right.
means.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And then just from our employee engagement surveys, my principal or supervisor provides feedback. Score is okay, 4.1 out of 5, but again, something we want to put some energy on. And my principal or supervisor provides feedback concerning areas improving my performance, 3.97 out of 5. We've been working on that already throughout the summer as a district administrative team, thinking about what evaluations look like, what are timelines for evaluations, how can we increase communication with our employees. Our administrators last year were working on rounding with our employees to get to know them more on a personal level as much as a professional level. But again, we're hearing the voices of our community in our designation of the plan. Speaking of community, that's our third pillar. And again, has a number of different measurements and metrics throughout it. And just here's some data that drove some of that work. 88% of our respondents said they would recommend the school district to a friend or family member in our strategic plan. Guys, that's important. That's a huge celebration. The national average on that is 71%. In the middle of a pandemic, 580 some odd respondents took that community perception survey. 88% of them said they would recommend the school district to a friend or family member. That's our parents, that's our guardians, that's our alumni, that's our community, that's our faculty and staff. That's huge.
Thank you.
But the reason we also put that on there is, while we want to get some numbers up, we also want to make sure some numbers don't go down.
Right.
So we want to make sure we're reinvesting in what's working sometimes. It's not always about doing new or better. Sometimes it's maintaining and making sure you preserve what's really working well. And so we want to make sure that we always continue to have high remarks in that regard. And I do think it's a great testament to the people we have working in the district, that despite all the things we've gone through the last 2 years, everyone is very responsive and we recommend the district. That being said, not everything's a celebration. There's work to do. Our strategic plan survey did give us 3 other data points that kind of drove this pillar. 39% of the respondents strongly agree that we prepare students to engage with the local community. 32% strongly agree that we prepare students to engage with a global community. And 33% said we provide opportunities for students to engage in community service. So what that tells me is we need to do 1 of 2 things. We need to look for more opportunities to get our kids engaged with both the local and global community. And if we are doing those things, then we need to be better about telling our story. And if we are doing those things, then we need to look for metrics about how we know they're successful and helping our students to be college and career ready. So again, not all data is bad, but it does tell us where we need to drive our energy. And then finally, our resources. Here's some of the data that really drove it. 51% strongly agree that the school district manages its budget responsibly on the strategic plan survey. Now we know, even just from the last meeting, we've taken a lot of strides to do that, but I also think that's a transparency thing. So we need to think about, and when you look at some of the things like doing community forums and different things where we can share our story about 1, how we are funded, 2, what we have to do with that, but just giving people the opportunity to hear how we're spending our money and doing different things. I think it's more about communication than it is actually how we manage it. But we got to do a better job of communicating that. Conversely, 94% strongly agree that it's important to provide adequate funding to our schools to ensure student success. It tells you how much our community values it.
And our community has shown that.
Yes, time and time again.
Time and time
again.
Yeah.
Likewise, 95% of our respondents think our school is safe. We've talked about this before. It's what drove part of our mission statement. We put that number on there because that's one of those numbers we want to make sure we continue to keep a focus on and be a point of pride for us. Likewise, 81% are extremely satisfied or satisfied with school safety. 85% strongly agree or agree that we provide a safe environment for students. 80% strongly agree or agree that we provide a safe environment for staff. And 93% strongly agree or agree that the school district, that a school district with high-performing schools is important to them. And then finally, 86% strongly agree or agree that property values are positively impacted by the reputation of our schools. Our schools are a point of pride in this community, and we want to make sure we never lose sight of how important they are because they mean so much to the Valley Park citizens. So there's a lot of work to be done over the next 5 years, as we talked about. It's not going to be a plan that sits on its shelf. Last year, we started to model what that looks like with 90-day reviews. So what we're in the process of now is creating organizational scorecards that align deliberately to our 5-year key initiatives, and then creating actions for each of those initiatives. And then we get on that review cycle where every 90 days, every 30 days, we're looking at data, we're reviewing, we're coming back, we're seeing what works, discarding what doesn't, and creating new action plans. And then part of that whole process will be to continue to get feedback from staff, students, and our community. Yeah, Pete.
Tim, did we, for the fourth pillar, did we look at any live birth data?
I do believe there is some. I don't have the entire.
That's okay. It's just.
It's on.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's definitely on there. Yeah.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that we're up on what's coming at us.
Yeah. So when
That's
we
been
think about
very important.
sustainability and everything, I know we got some of our key initiatives are long-range planning, like facilities planning.
Yeah.
I know technology planning,
Yeah.
Inventorying our resources, live birth data, all those things are important.
We know that the big program is, fading itself out, so we as a district need to be ahead of that. We'll have a less problem with it than the larger districts that rely on it much more than we do.
Yeah.
But that's things we need to think about, and having this plan, at least we can make
Yeah.
steps towards what we need.
Yeah, fortunately, the district has never really leveraged itself too much in regard to finances related to the big program. So the big program now accounts for, I think, last month we talked about 4%
Yeah.
or so
Yeah.
of our finances, which is not a huge number, but other districts have leveraged themselves much more.
Oh, I know, and that we knew 10 years ago that we were coming to this, and
Yeah.
it was a good time to start
Yeah.
unleveraging ourselves.
Yeah, and so not only with the big program dwindling, but with our own, resident enrollment population either declining or remaining stagnant for several years. That's one of those pieces we talked about. Obviously, it's not a metric, but it's something we need to do when it comes to live birth data.
It's something you gotta see. Yeah.
Again, one more piece of information to
It's
keep us
just
informed.
part of the planning
Yeah.
process.
And then when we think about long-range plans, like facility plans or tech plans, all that does, it just keeps us on pace and again, gives us a plan, much like our strategic plan does.
Right.
Where's kind of the emergent areas of attention and where can maybe we delay, versus several years as well. And then just like we started the plan, you're going to see a lot more of what we've already started. So the board itself will have a yearly board update, typically in May, June, or July every year where we're at. We will also make this part of our CSIP committee, so that we're having regular intervals with them throughout the year. We do plan, we've already got on the agenda for June of 2022, our teacher and admin retreat to start assessing where have we come in a year, what does the data say, where do we need to readjust and go for year 2. We will do focus groups about every 3 years. We will do community perception surveys every 2, and on the off years, you'll have family-specific surveys mixed in. District services surveys will be every other year. So we're going to be very intentional about continuing to collect data and continually reassess how we're doing. And that's another way we keep the plan living and actionable. And then finally, as we started all of our conversation off with, ultimately what drives this plan is 3 things. The mission, which is to provide a safe and supportive environment of belonging, where personalized learning experiences prepare our students holistically for limitless opportunities, empowering them to make the world a better place. It's our vision of one community, one campus, limitless learning, and it's the values that we've committed to that include engaging our students and staff, working together as a collaborative community, taking risk, knowing that we learn from failure, developing productive members of our community, and and serving the individual needs of each student to ensure their success. That's what's going to drive them. Be happy to answer any questions.
I think it looks and sounds outstanding, and I love how there are through lines where you can see the natural progression and where we will see progress across multiple areas instead of just one. We'll also notice if it's not trending the way we want, because we'll see it in multiple areas. I'm excited for our teachers to have a strong curriculum and professional development, because that's crucial.
Yes.
And they have some autonomy in that, so that they can use their knowledge and skills and experience to truly deliver the curriculum, not just teach it. So
Absolutely.
very cool.
Thank you.
Hey, Dell, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Okay, any other discussion?
Hey, Tim, I'll make a public statement that, with my vast years on the board, I've seen a lot of strategic plans come and go. And I've seen the missing of strategic plans not there at all. I just want to thank you for the time and effort that you've put into this. I really truly believe that you'll keep it in the forefront. And as I stated before in a public meeting, that we can do all of these in the world. And as you stated, if you throw it in a drawer and in 5 years from now come out and say, oh, we didn't do well, well, surprise, surprise. I think you're the guy that can make this happen. I don't think it's going to be easy. And I like the attitude that even data that doesn't look good is good to know, because you can't fix it if you don't know. And then some of the things you showed up there that we just didn't know, or we knew and just didn't know enough to go after the right thing. I can see that you've already worked on POTA 4 by getting us to the 25% reserve that the board's policy asked us to be there. And I haven't seen it in, I don't know, 14 years. So I can see the progress is already taking hold. And I think that is because you have a path and a plan. And without a path and a plan, I think it's just chaos. So I just want to publicly thank you for all the work that you did and all the teams did. But if you hadn't pushed it and come with the answer you did when we interviewed you, it would have never happened.
Thanks, Pete.
Where are people going to be able to go to see this?
I'm sorry.
Where will people be able to go to see?
Yeah, so we'll have an entire site that has, it'll be broken down into two things. It'll be the one-page plan just itself, they want to see that, and then exactly the presentation that you see there on the website. And then each year at the annual retreat, they'll just have another page there for each annual update this year as well. But then you'll also see, they'll see it when we do public updates, so something we'll get better at is try to align as many of our agenda items and very specifically identify how does it align to our strategic plan. Even small things like the Friday focus that I shared with you guys, I'll try to identify what things align specifically. And I
That's
think.
gonna be my next question.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I think a key to other strategic plans though too, while this should be a very exciting and momentous time for our district, we also have to remember that, change and transformational change is incremental. So some things will come fast, but other things like developing a K-12 curriculum in all different content areas, that's going to take every bit of 5 years. And Rome wasn't built in a day, and we're not going to accomplish everything in the strategic plan in a day, but it's that through intentionality being incremental. And so board presentations and updates, program evaluations, curriculum reviews, what our PDC is doing, that'll be other ways they'll see it too without actually seeing it.
Great.
Yeah. I also know Jamie, if approved, will have it in the August newsletter that goes out. I know today she did a great job of starting to promote the mission, vision, values through social media and different things. So I know she'll be relevant.
Okay, so I just want to make a statement really quick, not to be here too long, but I also just want to thank you and everybody involved for the time they put into this. And I think it's very evident, especially, looking at some of that data, how supportive our community is and how much we appreciate that. I'm excited to hear that people are going to be more involved in making the decisions, because I do definitely feel like a team is more able to function if they have more control over what the goals are and understand how they get there and understand how one thing can affect another thing. You might be doing really good with one thing, but if you don't pay attention to the other things, you could be causing progress in that. And I think that open communication moves us forward on that. So I just want to say good job to everybody. Thank you for your commitment and to the district and to overall our kids. So,
Yeah, I really like how there's actionable metrics on there that we're gonna revisit over time.
I
I
do
think
too.
that's the key to success.
I like how it has the way they're gonna measure it over here on the side. I think that helps people understand. You know, it's very good. Good communication of where we're headed.
Thank you.
All right, so let's take a vote on that. All in favor of approving our new strategic plan for 2021 through 2026? Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we have a wonderful new strategic plan.
Thanks.
Yeah. Much hard work there. Okay, and then finally tonight we have item 5.04, a potential motion to censure.
Yeah, I move to censure Jeremy Picker for failing to follow appropriate Board of Education district procedures regarding the manner in which information regarding applicants for employment and or personal information pertaining to individual employees is obtained and discussed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we're gonna do this by roll call vote.
Do we have time to make comments here or?
Oh, yeah, well, that was in the plan, but
He has a right to comment.
yeah, he has right. Go ahead.
I'd like to preface my comments by stating publicly, I condone the actions of the board member referenced in this motion. That being said, I strongly disagree with the use of censure in this manner. Here's why. Censure should be used in the most egregious circumstances to distance us from a member we feel we have tried to get through to, but have been unsuccessful in doing so regarding their illegal, immoral, or unethical actions. The action taken by the board member of topic was none of those. The lack of good boardsmanship shown was not without remorse, as shown via their apology to all of us for their action. 2, publicly censuring an individual when they are absent from the meeting, especially due to being on a humanitarian trip out of the country and not due to legal or ethical proceedings, puts this board and our district in an awfully bright spotlight for the wrong reasons. This begs the question as to whether this motion, its timing, and its expediency were legitimately about rectifying the issue and this board member's actions, or something else entirely. Those who felt strongly enough to add this to today's meeting seemingly didn't feel strongly enough to call for a special session prior to today or in the future when this board member would be present. Third, and in my opinion, the most important, using public censure in this manner dilutes the future power of this board and future boards to properly censure when the appropriate situation arises. By normalizing the use of censure outside of all but the most terrible reasons, we strip away said board's ability to command authority and respect when said boards need it the most. Public censure used in this manner will, in my opinion, further divide this board, steering us further away from focusing on our mission and purpose, inviting further divisions while diluting this and future boards' authority and capacity to act appropriately when needed. For these reasons, I will be voting no on this measure. And I would do the same for each and every one of you out of respect on this board in a similar situation. That's all.
Okay. All right, well, then we'll start our voting with you, Adam.
No.
Okay,
Yes. No.
Yes.
no. Yes. So we have 3 yeses, 3 no, so it doesn't carry. That votes are recorded. Okay, so our next thing is going to be our motion to approve to adjourn to executive session. Do I have such a motion?
Yeah, second.
I'll say.
No, I thought you made the motion.
I said, do
I'll
it.
make the motion.
I'll say. Okay, roll call vote on that. Say.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned to